Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm so happy that you are here with me today. And I'm especially excited because we have a very special guest here today with us, someone who had a profound impact on my own yoga journey as a trauma-informed yoga educator. Today, I'm honored to be speaking to Montserrat G. Mukherjee, the founder and program director of the Yoga Therapy Institute, and one of the leading voices in integrating yoga, science, and compassionate care. She has guided countless students, including myself, to understand yoga as more than just postures, as a deeply therapeutic, evidence-based, and human-centered practice. In this conversation, we are going to be exploring a bit about her personal journey, what yoga therapy is, and how trauma-informed work integrates into yoga therapy. The educational work about the Yoga Therapy Institute, how to take the next steps if you feel called to do this work. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, make yourself comfy, and let's dive into this inspiring discussion with Mons. So dear Mons, I'm so deeply grateful for your work in the world, for your generosity of sharing your knowledge, and for the way you embody such integrity and compassion in all that you do. So thank you so much for saying yes to this conversation today. It really, truly means a lot to me.
Thank you, Liz. And I love it that you call me Mons. It means that you know me, and it means that we're close for you to call me Mons. And I love it because my name is such a mouthful, Montserrat. And I always say from the beginning, just call me Mons. And a lot of people laugh because YouTube autocorrects my name as Monster. So, so that's already a funny way to start with my name. So yeah, I know it does. It says Monster. So watch out if you
God.
upload this in YouTube. So yeah, so Mons is good. And yeah, thank you so much, Liz. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm ready for your questions, always ready to share about yoga therapy, the knowledge of what is yoga therapy and how it can benefit not only one person, but actually the people who teach it, the people who share it, and most important, the people who receive it. So the ultimate purpose of yoga therapy are actually the clients and students that we're going to be working with, people who are experiencing health issues. So yeah, so thank you for having me here. Thank you. I feel very welcome indeed. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's jump into our first question to reflect a little bit on your personal journey so people can get to know you a little bit more. Uh, what first drew you to yoga therapy, and how did that evolve into, in the end, founding the Yoga Therapy Institute?
Yes. So, like many of us, we got into yoga due to need. Yes, a personal need, something that was not working so well with us, right? I'm one of those as well. That yeah, the wounded healer story, and right, exactly. And I do come from a family of educators. So my grandfather was a teacher, not of yoga. He was a mathematician. He taught mathematics. A lot of a very scientific family, as a matter of fact. My brother has a huge chain of schools in Spain, very successful. And my mother was a teacher, and yes, I mean, yeah, and my auntie has a school and an academy, so a family of teachers. So that was already, I think that was already in my genes. I think so, my childhood experience. So yeah, the truth is that, of course, I worked. I have quite a complex past because I came from a family that was below the poverty line. So we literally, yeah, anybody who is my age who lived in Spain in that time, they realized actually we were a third world country and just recovered from the dictatorship of Franco. And there was no money in my family or academics. but no, yeah, very, very poor. So it got to a point when I had to start working from a very young age. And I left the country also due to financial reasons as well. There was just, yeah, I didn't want to burden my family or my mom with having to feed me or go
Mm.
to school or anything like that. So I traveled and I went to England, and there I built up from zero, without speaking a word of English, um, a, a career in a different world. It was a corporate world, and I worked really, really hard. And maybe perhaps what happened when I look back as well is when I was in my 20s that I burned, basically. Well, I collapsed one day. That's what I did in the middle of a party, as a matter of fact. And then somebody in the party introduced me to yoga and said, you need to do yoga. So I thought, okay. So I went to the Life Center in Notting Hill. I went to that class, imagine, I mean, I was a typical high heels and, yeah, right, kind of like girl. And well, I ended up there, and the teacher was not so nice to me. The teachers told me, yes, because I was trying to adapt the postures to my needs, because I was definitely not a yogi type, and I was very, very sporty. Yeah, I played water polo, I was a swimmer. So I was very stiff and tight. And when I tried to correct myself, or right, because I was in pain, she came to me and said, well, that's not the way we do yoga. So to share with you, she was actually from India. So, she was really quite harsh on me. But I thought, oh my God. So I felt really bad about myself. And I thought, okay, so what am I going to do? Because I want to continue doing this. I will got a book, and I started learning yoga by myself with a book, which I still have, with pictures, and falling in my bathroom, and, oh, like doing tree pose. Tree pose was a struggle for me. But I was determined to do it, and it really served me. It served me to regulate myself, to be able to combine working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, traveling around the world, and I combined it with my yoga. Then I became a yoga teacher, a pregnancy yoga teacher, when I was pregnant. Um, and I absolutely loved it. And I guess that was the beginning of the journey. I left the corporate world when I had my daughter. I decided, no, I don't want to do this. And that's when I decided I want to teach this, of course. I want to share this knowledge. And I want to do it in a very respectful way. Because my experience of going to classes had not been respectful. First of all, I felt inadequate. I felt that I was not good enough, right? I'm sure that some of us can actually identify with that. I was not flexible enough. I was not calm enough. Some breathing practices actually caused me a panic attack almost, because I was like, trying to breathe, do that three-part breathing. And I sometimes even come out a little bit anxious from the class. And the teachers were always very serious and taking themselves very seriously. And when I started and I decided I want to teach yoga, I had already decided I don't want to do this way. My family, they're all people with a lot of sense of humor, very light. And that comes from poverty. Yeah? That comes really from not having much. And then you
Mm.
kind of take yourself too seriously when you don't have a lot. So we kind of joked a lot, and I thought, oh my God, I want to teach with lightness and welcoming everybody. So I had already decided that, Liz, without realizing. And then I trained as a Kundalini yoga teacher, and I always apologize for that, because Kundalini is hard and harsh. Um, but I loved it at the time. I was very fit. I was very physically able, until I was not so able. I overdid
Mm.
it, right? I hurt myself. I had these big, big yoga classes, and then I had, which I want to talk about later in one of your questions. I think you asked me what are the pivotal moments in my life. One of them was,
Yes, that's the next one. Yeah, so feel free to
yes, yeah,
expand on
one of
that.
the pivotal moments that changed my perspective were two things. One of them was that I met the student, Ellen. She was French, and she was sitting at the back of the class, this big class, and I was doing these Kundalini routines, like blah, 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 really hard work. And this girl looked like she was pale, she was unwell. And when I saw her, of course, as a yoga teacher, I had been taught to say, if you find it too much, take a moment to rest. Right, listen to your body, which I always laugh about the listen to your body. Okay, well, we'll go on to that. I mean, listen to your body. Who can listen to their body? I mean, I can't sometimes listen to the body. If I could listen to my body, I wouldn't eat so much chocolate, right? So, yeah, okay, no. So anyway, but I did say, listen to your body. But by the end of the class, I was a bit like, oh my God, I went to her and I said, are you okay? And she said, yeah, a friend recommended me to come to you because I'm very, very tired and I'm very sick and they're trying to find out what it is. And I don't know yet. So I said to her, well, listen, I think that this class is a little bit hard. And why don't you come back when they find out what is going on? So she came back 5 years later when I was no longer a yoga teacher and I was a yoga therapist. And she came back and said, Ellen, remember me? And I remembered her. And what she doesn't know is that her presence changed my life in my career because I started to notice other students. I started to notice and think, wait a minute, everything that I'm doing here is not suitable for everybody. So she kind of like brought my focus of attention onto someone who, yeah, they came to my class. They were trying their best to do the practices, but they were unwell. And I started to realize, Liz, that I could be causing harm with my teachings. So that's not something that I wanted to do. And the second event that happened was that I myself got sick with some kind of muscle reaction to the intense training that I was doing. And all my muscles, all the muscles in my body contracted and I was in pain. It may have also been connected to a personal issue. We were moving to Hong Kong. At this point, I had my baby had just been born. And we were moving to Hong Kong, and I didn't want to. It wasn't my choice. It was my partner. And I think my whole body held me back by cramping. Those two things happened at the same time, practically. The discovery of Hélène, my A student, and then my muscle cramping disorder, which I still to this day, I don't know what it is. And then I stopped. I closed the studio and I went away. I went to Spain. I rested. I went to the sea. And I recovered. I had my mom and families. And then when I came back to Amsterdam, I thought there's got to be something else that I can do with yoga. And I was questioning. And recently, Liz, I recorded something which I shared in YouTube, which is how do you know that you're ready for yoga therapy? You know you're ready for yoga therapy or to study yoga therapy when you start questioning. You start doubting, right? You start thinking, is what I'm doing right? Is it safe? Is it hurting me, my body? And is it hurting others? Am I teaching right that the term trauma informed is fairly new, but you start questioning, right, what do I do with somebody who is depressed, somebody who's anxious? Am I doing the right thing and am I doing it in a purpose way, a meaningful way and respectful way? And I was doubting, Liz, I was doubting because of my physical body, because of Hélène and also noticing other students. And I thought there's got to be another way. So I looked on the internet and Liz, of course, I'm approaching my 60s. Yeah. Another time, internet, I have to tell you, the internet was with a huge modem. It was called a modem. It was the size of a mushroom like this, in the shape of a mushroom. And you had it in the middle of the room. And I remember moving these modems so that I would get internet. I mean, it was a disaster. But I found the Yoga Biomedical Trust, which doesn't exist anymore, and Dr. Robin Monroe and Dr. Ruth Gilmore. Dr. Robin Monroe passed away recently. And they had this yoga therapy thing going on. And when I read about it and the adaptation of yoga to help people with medical issues, that's what it was called, health issues, medical, it had the word medical in it. I thought, this is what I want. So I embarked on it with a lot of hard work from my partner, my daughter. I traveled to London. I took my baby there. I had he was also helping, and my mother-in-law, right? Okay, most of the times you cannot do these things by yourself. And and I did this amazing pioneer training. And I say pioneer because there was nothing of a kind at the time. And it was run by doctors, by medical professionals. Uh, Many of us come from there. Uma Dinsmore-Tooley was also graduated there. It's amazing Yoga Nidra network. And other very prominent yoga therapists of our time, they come from this school. And eventually, as I said, it didn't continue. It was a little bit financially unsustainable for them because, yeah, but it was very, very strict. And we had huge examinations and medical examinations, and it was mind blowing. And this is what I wanted to do with the school. This is what I wanted to do with the Yoga Therapy Institute. I wanted people to come in and learn something that it is mind blowing, that you say, okay, why haven't I been learning yoga this way up until now? So yes, so that's a little bit what it was. And why did I create the school? Well, I had been working as a yoga therapist from the moment I started my studies. I started working very, very dedicated to it, one-on-one classes as a yoga therapist. And then one day something strange happened, Liz. And I, I always sometimes I was talking to a friend about the things that happened, and she said, "You remind me of Forrest Gump." And I go, "Oh, that's nice."
Oh God.
These weird things happen sometimes in my life, and that weird thing took me in that direction. So I had a yoga teacher who I had never seen before. And she came to me and said, "Hey, I heard about your work." And she said, "Can I come and observe one day?" And I went, "Well, okay." Of course, I didn't have a business card. I didn't have a website. I didn't have nothing. I worked only word of mouth. I continued to do so for my yoga therapy work. And I was like, "Okay." I said, "But I have to ask my clients, of course, because, you cannot come and observe a session just like that." These clients had serious health issues. So she was a wonderful, wonderful woman, and young woman. I think she was in her 30s, and she came and she sat in the classes and she observed and she was learning, and she was so wonderful. And one day we went for a walk, and she said to me, "You've got to share this with other people. You've got to share this with other yoga teachers." And I looked at her and I said, "Right, but how?" And she goes, "Well, I don't know, but you have to think of a way that you need to share this." So I thought, okay, yeah, she really planted a seed. And then I had a client, Caroline, who had been my client for quite a while. And one day she left the class, she left the session, and she looked at me and she said, "You've got to share this, Mons." And then I thought, okay, now I've heard this twice. When you hear something twice, maybe the universe is really trying to shout it out at you. And then I thought, well, okay. And the final moment was when then the Yoga Therapy Conference was held in Amsterdam, which I was shocked. I was like, "There's a Yoga Therapy Conference in Amsterdam?" As far as I was concerned, I was the only yoga therapist in the Netherlands. I thought maybe I'm the only one in the world. I have no idea. So I went to this yoga therapy conference. There were 400 people there, and I learned that it had been like a little bit of a marketing stunt, very, very well done by the person who organized it. But there were no yoga therapists in this conference at all. Nothing. So I stood up to ask a question. They said, "Does anybody want to ask a question?" Of course, you know me. Yeah, and they passed me on the microphone. And I said, "I just want to know, are there any yoga therapists in this room?" It was a huge church full of people. Nobody raised the hand. Nobody. Not one person. So I said, "Well, I'm a certified yoga therapist with the IYT." And I said, "Well, I just want to, I just want to ask if you have any questions about my work as a yoga therapist," because the conference was about all kinds of things, but it wasn't particularly about yoga therapy. So by the end of it, I had a queue of people asking, "So how do you work as a yoga therapist? What do you do? Blah, 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 blah." And then in that moment, I left and I was with my partner. And we left the church and I said, "I'm starting a school." I decided in that moment because I thought, you know, how can we talking about yoga therapy if there are no yoga therapists?
Oh, weird,
So
yes.
yeah, exactly. So I thought we need to train yoga teachers to become yoga therapists and do it properly. And I wanted to do it the way the Yoga Biomedical Trust had done it. And I wanted to blow people's minds and say, new way of teaching, new way of learning, welcoming, accessible, adapted to different forms of learning. And also with so many years of experience at that point, I had 15 years of experience teaching, working as a yoga therapist with people with a wide range of issues. List like, you know, I could talk for hours about that. So yes, it's so that's how it happened. That's how it happened. Yes, yes.
Wow, amazing.
And then one
Amazing.
final thing, Liz, I want to mention because I think he deserves the honor. When I decided I'm going to create the school, I was talking to one of my clients, and he was a man of Indian origin as well, and he had cardiovascular issues, and um, and I said to him, I was telling him, and I was so excited, and he knows my life is pretty humble. And he said to me, and I said, I have to fly to Washington to the IYT conference. I have a lot of things to do. And he realized as a businessman, he said, there's a lot of costs in that, which he knew I wasn't going to. So he said to me, how much do you need? And I went, what? He said, how much you need? How much you need? I'll bring the cash tomorrow. So you can go to Washington, stay. When you go to the IYT conference, you have to stay in this. You don't have to, but you do stay in the Hyatt hotel. It's a high level. I mean, I don't, you know. And so I told him, I think at the time it was 4,000 euros, something like that. And he came with the cash and he said, now you can start the school. So
Wow.
I was the beginning. I was so thankful. I can't tell you. And so all the elements, the universe was throwing me things, right? And I think I helped him with his health issues. I helped his wife. I worked also with his daughter, his two daughters. So I think that it was his way of helping. So yeah, that's how it was possible. Yes.
So beautiful that you mentioned here this in the end, because yeah, how things just align when it's the right path and everything is just like pushing you towards that vision when it's the
Yes.
right path for you, right?
Yeah, and sometimes you have to be in the right state to listen. Yes.
Mm.
So, because you know, sometimes we can get the signals and not listen, but it was obviously the time when I thought, oh, I'm hearing this quite a lot. I think that maybe I should do this. Yes.
Yeah. And you did such a good job. It is mind blowing what you created there. And from the first moment I entered into the 875 hours course, I am being blown away and I just like scraping together the money for the next module.
Yes, 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 yes,
And
yes,
just to
yes.
continue to do it, to get on with it, because yeah, this is really super inspiring and such good information and amazing teachers. Everyone I encountered there, yeah, just
Yeah.
was
Well,
perfect.
actually, now that you mentioned what you just mentioned, I want to tell you because I mentioned that, of course, I come from a very poor background. And a few months ago, well, we do this every time we reduce our prices. People go, what? And I go, yes. Normally, the schools, every few months, they raise their prices, or every few years, they raise their prices. We've done the opposite. Because when we started 8 years ago, the financial situation in the world was very different.
Mm.
So we've had to adapt. And to me, I think I can't remember, it was the beginning of this year, 2025, the beginning of 2025, we literally halved the cost of our courses
Wow.
because I felt, and I shared it with the teachers, and I shared it with the IYT, I said, if we make yoga therapy education so expensive, the only people that are going to come to these courses are wealthy, rich housewives. And I
Yes.
said, no, this cannot be. And why do I say housewives? And I don't mean it with disrespect at all, please. I am a housewife myself, and I love it. And, anybody who can be described as, taking care of the home is amazing. And what I'm talking is about people who have time to be able to say, okay, because I have money, I can have babysitters. Because I have money, I can pay for this training. Because I have money, I don't need to work. Okay. And so, and normally this career, the people who are attracted to it is females. So if you start looking at the situation that you have to have a lot of money and a lot of time, yes, then it's going to be, right, people who come from wealthy families, or they have a wealthy partner so that they can afford for childcare, and they can afford not to work. So then we are looking at yoga therapists as a very specific part of the population, very restricted, very elitist, and right. And that is absolutely not what I want. That's not my purpose. And I think that we want younger people to be in it. Also, older individuals who maybe they're on a pension, or, and people who can combine it with their baby care, like have their baby. We have so many, sometimes they have the baby with them in the arm. So this is important, Liz. Yes, one thing is to say, oh, we are accessible, anybody can do this. Well, we need to make it financially and time accessible, and that's why a lot of the courses are also on demand, that you can learn at your own pace. Because otherwise, if you have to be on Zoom from 9 to 5, right? Yeah, then how are you
Yes.
going to manage it unless you're not working? And nowadays, we need to work you're right, to make money, to survive. So this is a very important point. Social economic imbalances are very close to me, to my heart. So
And I love it and appreciate it so much myself, also not coming from money.
yeah, like a lot of yoga
Especially, yeah,
teachers. Yeah.
yeah, growing up in communist Hungary in the 80s, and yeah, and then also trading my corporate amazing salary to yoga teacher salary in Thailand. So I appreciate it so much. And when your newsletter came that we are reducing our prices with so and so percent, I actually had to look at it like 3 times. And are they serious? This is just so cool. It's just like $200 less for one module,
Yeah.
which enabled me to enroll to my next one,
Mm-hmm.
because I was just missing that money, and I really want to keep up with the modules. So it was like a godsend. So immediately I was like, okay, that I can pay right now. And it's so amazing because then I have the next module scheduled. So I love it so much. And I'm so grateful for this, that you make it this accessible, that really it's I'm just sometimes wondering what the teachers are earning from this,
No, well,
because it's
a lot of us
really
work
price.
volunteer.
Mm,
Yes, 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 yes. So
mm,
we all work as yoga therapy clinicians. So we all have my main earning, people don't realize, but my main earning is as a yoga therapist. I earn a lot as a yoga therapist. And the
mm,
school, right? And the school is this, let's just say, philanthropic project to educate yoga teachers to become yoga therapists. And the other yoga teachers are the same. The yoga therapists that work, they all have jobs, they all have their own income. And it's a philanthropic project. And the idea is, of course, that our income comes from being a yoga therapist, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I wasn't aware of this. That's
Yeah.
that's an amazing
Yes, yes,
information.
yes, 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 yes. It's a bunch of uh, very, very experienced yoga therapists. We all work as I said, we have tons of clinical experience, and we work with private clients, and we
Mm,
share our information, we share our experience, our knowledge and skills. In the training courses in the yoga therapy diploma. So yes, so yeah, absolutely. Yes, that's the only way that we can have the time and that we can do it. Yes, absolutely.
that's
But still,
amazing.
as you know, the school costs money to maintain.
Of course, yes, 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 of course. But yeah, I'm so happy that
Yeah,
it's so accessible. Really,
yeah, yeah. It needs to
it
be,
just
of
helps
course.
me tremendously.
That's
Yes.
wonderful. Thank you. Good, Liz. Good, good. So,
Amazing. So, if you're ready for our next question, let's
I
go a
am.
little bit more into the details. How about yoga therapy itself and trauma
Mhm.
informed work. How would you, first of all, define the difference between simple yoga or and yoga therapy?
So what is the difference between simple yoga and yoga therapy? I
Mm,
also recorded a video on that on YouTube. And I'm
yes,
going to
I
give
just
you an
saw it.
example. I'm going to give you an example to make it very practical. So first of
Mm,
all, obviously, the amount of training and education, there's a big difference, right? The yoga teacher training is 200 or 300 or 500. Yoga therapist is a minimum of 800, but most important of that is the clinical work that you have to do. You have to do a minimum of 150 hours of clinical work with your own clients and students, one-on-one or in very, very small groups. And what does that mean? What do you mean that doing clinical work? Um, it means that, for example, if you have somebody who comes to you with lower back pain, imagine, yes, you as a yoga teacher, uh, you haven't been trained to find out what are the causes of low back pain, what are the red flags that maybe perhaps could mean that this person has something, has a herniated disc or maybe some more serious lower back pain issues. For example, lower back pain can actually referred pain from gynecological problems. It can be,
mm,
as we know, you have the menstruation, your lower back can hurt, right? So a woman with uterine fibroids or with ovarian cysts and with other gynecological problems, they can have lower back pain as a referred pain. Now, the yoga teacher doesn't know that, the yoga therapist does. So if somebody comes with lower back pain, the yoga therapist is going to ask questions. It's going to do a form of an intake where they're going to find out, well, what are the symptoms? When do you get these problems? We're going to ask some intelligent questions such as, do you think it's connected with your menstruation? Can you do a diary or write a little bit of an agenda to find out if it coincides with your menstruation? And the yoga therapist as well is going to ask questions like, when was the last time you went to the gynecologist? And would you consider going to have a checkup for this? Why? Because as a yoga therapist, I'm looking at all the different options. So this person has lower back pain only just before they get their menstruation. It's not connected with movement. It's not connected with anything like that. So then I might refer them to a gynecologist. They come back and they say, oh, I have right, pelvic inflammatory disease, or they found out that I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. And then the lower back pain is connected with an organic problem, which is that they have a gynecological issue. The yoga teacher doesn't know anything about this. They're just going to do deep forward bends, which could be contraindicated for this issue. They're going to do deep back bends, twists. They heard that twists are good for lower back pain, right? If you have a herniated disc, the last thing you want to do is twists because then you can make that hernia worse. So in a way, the yoga teacher is working with yoga. The yoga therapist is working with the person. Yes, that's really very much the difference. The yoga teacher learns the yoga thing and applies the yoga thing, right? Without knowing about what could happen with that human being and what is that human being experiencing, what are the symptoms, what could they have. The yoga therapist is going to look at the human being, is going to look at the person and apply yoga tools adapted to the person, while the yoga teacher is adapting the person to the yoga. And that is the difference. Yes. So as a yoga therapist, you put the person first to find out about the person. And in practical terms, that means that, of course, we really ask the questions. You're trained to have a proper intake, a physical assessment, and so on. And we are also qualified to offer referrals and to say, okay, yes, we can still do some yoga practices, but hey, go to your doctors and check this, go and check this. And we work with the knowledge, yes, of human beings, not only yoga.
mm,
The yoga is a tool for us, for yoga therapists. Yes, but my most important concern is you, is the person. Yeah, so that's a little bit more the difference. There's other differences, of course. For a yoga therapist, safety is the number one. Sometimes for the yoga teachers, the yoga dogma and what they learned in the yoga is the number one, even if it hurts you. Yes, but you have to do it. Why? Because the yoga book says so. But in
mhm,
yoga therapy, we are never going to hurt somebody, not with yoga, not with nothing. Yes. So safety is a big difference as well. So is the perspective more or less the perspective? One is more the perspective of the yoga, and the other one is the perspective of the human being. And yoga is a tool to support that human being.
Yes, and that really stuck with me after the very first module that I completed. This sentence that we don't adapt the person to the practice, but we adapt the practice to the person. So that's my Bible there. And I also borrowed
Yes.
it in my own training where I mentioned this very sentence because it just tells so much.
Yes, absolutely. And I learned this in my own training 20 years ago. So this is an idea that has started to be passed on, and different people have used it, of course. But it's the essence of it, is the essence of it. Absolutely. And there's many reasons for it, but one of them is because, we've only just started to, we go into a different conversation here about the origins of yoga and the physical yoga, but we only now people are starting to go to yoga for health issues, Liz. Before, yoga used to be practiced for the calming of the mind, relaxation, and for flexibility, right? Those were the two aspects of yoga. But now people are starting to go to yoga for their health issues. The doctors are sending people to yoga. Yeah. They're saying, oh, you have high blood pressure, you're really stressed out, you have arthritis, go to yoga. The doctors are starting to refer to yoga. So that is the problem. The problem is that people used to come, as I said, to a nice little yoga class in a lovely studio to do some relaxation, yes, and to become more flexible, to be able to touch their toes. And now they're coming to yoga to recover from illness. They're coming to yoga thinking that yoga can actually treat disease. And that is a huge problem. And that's
That's
why
problematic.
that's problematic, because if you're a yoga teacher trained 200 hours, you go, what do I do? Listen to your body. That's all you can say. It's all you can say. So that's why the training is necessary. If you want to work with people with serious health issues, and we want to really, and that's where it comes from, that the yoga is a tool adapted to the individual. Yes, because the individuals
Right.
are now coming with serious health problems to yoga.
Yeah, the other thing I found quite problematic with the doctors referring actually in real life students to me, send them to me, that most doctors don't really have an idea that there are many yoga styles out there, and most of them are not going to work well for their clients or for their patients. So that's again something that people come that, oh, I want to heal from this. Let's do yoga. Like, please go home and rest.
Yes, exactly. You're absolutely right. And the problem is that the doctors don't know. The doctors are
Yeah.
overwhelmed. They are overcrowded, the doctor's offices. They are, right, the resources. I have a great admiration. I have great admiration for the medical professionals, because they really are, yeah, overworking, underpaid. And they found and they discovered that this yoga can help a whole bunch of their patients who are really, really stressed out. And the medical studies are now showing that when you reduce the stress and the perception of stress, you actually can recover more easily from even prevent issues like diabetes type 2, cardiovascular disease, and lifestyle illnesses. So what are they doing? Are they reaching out for yoga, like to say, hey, here's some medication, and go and do some yoga. And you're absolutely right. They know nothing about yoga. They don't know that there's many styles, that some of them could be really dangerous for their clients.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, what role does trauma awareness play in
Thank
yoga
you.
therapy?
Trauma awareness. Very important question. Why? Because, and it was quite interesting, because the other day I was speaking to somebody who's quite high up in the yoga therapy kind of like corporate world, or if you want to call it, or the hierarchy, if there is any. And they were saying, all these trauma. What is all this trauma informed? What is all this trauma sensitive? Is like the latest trend. And I said, well, you know, there are different trends. There's no doubt about it. As human beings, we tend to go in one direction and go in another. And unfortunately, we tend to take things to the extreme. Yes. So if leopard print is in, everybody's going to be wearing leopard print. Okay, underwear leopard print, everything's leopard print. But this is a little bit the same until by the end of the season, you're fed up with the leopard print. And then it doesn't come back for another 10 years. Did you know that? Because people were so fed up with it. So this is what's happened a little bit with issues like trauma informed, that people go, oh, trauma, trauma, what is trauma? Everybody's traumatized. That is true. Birth is traumatic. The way you were born, mamma mia, right? We are completely traumatized when we're born. So the birth process is very, very painful and traumatic. So we start with that. And there's no doubt about it that the human experience involves pain and trauma and suffering. Yes, this is part of some of the truths of Buddhism. I'm not a Buddhist myself, but I like to read a lot about it and other forms of religions. And one of the truths is that we will suffer and we will die. Correct. So there's no doubt about it. Everybody experiences some form of trauma. Now, like everything in life, there are colors and there are grades and there are levels. And also the way that each human being, each one of us has experienced trauma. So two people could have the same traumatic event, and the way one interprets it could be very different to the other person. They've seen it with people like in Auschwitz, for example, in concentration camps, people in very, very difficult human circumstances. The recovery process and the understanding of that trauma is going to be very different from person to person. Pain is subjective. So we need to know before we work with an individual, or we need to assume that every human being has experienced trauma in some way or another. And what is important for us to understand as a yoga therapist, and before we do any practices with them, before we do any relaxation, before we do any breathing techniques, to have a little understanding not only of what is their physical being, what is the state of their physical health, but also what is their state of their mental and emotional health. And one of the questions that we ask in our intake to our clients is, have you ever experienced a traumatic event? Experienced it or witnessed it? Because we gave the example of today's experience, we are not there, but we are all experiencing, we are witnesses of the traumas going on in the world. Yes, the traumatic events. And we are not there ourselves, but when we read about it and when we're finding out about it, we are all affected. And this is one of the things about being so massively communicated, the world that we know what's happening in different parts of the world. We receive that information and we get affected by it. So it's not only the trauma, the traumatic event happened to you, but that you may have witnessed it. It may have affected you. And in which ways it has affected you. So for me as a yoga therapist, what is important is what are the physical and energetic manifestations of that trauma? I repeat, what are the physical and energetic manifestations of that trauma in you? So if you say to me, or a client says to me, I had an accident. It was a very traumatic event. Yeah. I had a car accident, for example, the very common. So, and it was very traumatic. Okay. So my first question is, did you speak to somebody about it? Because it's going to make a big difference if somebody has experienced a trauma and they've been able to share it and had psychological counseling or not. If they say, yes, I had some psychological counseling because it was very traumatic and blah, blah, blah. So I say, okay, and do you have nowadays any residue from that trauma? How is it manifesting in itself in you? How is your sleep? Oh, well, I sleep not so good, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yes. Then I'm joining the dots. Do you eat well? Can you get on a car again? Are there any triggers? Is there anything that triggers you? Yes. So some people who have PTSD, for example, they may have triggers such as busy places, dark spaces, very confined spaces, loud sounds, anybody touching them. So post-traumatic stress is, so a lot of people think, oh, if you've been abused physically, then you don't want to be touched. No, wait a minute. The PTSD from a car accident could also be that you don't want to be touched. Okay? That not wanting to be touched is not necessarily connected with a specific form of trauma. It could come from any kind of PTSD. If you've had an accident, anything. You might not like people being from behind you. You might always want to, right? You don't like having someone from behind. Maybe you freak out when all the windows and all the doors are closed, or when you're covered in blankets and it's too heavy and too confined. So when you think about this, Liz, as a yoga teacher and as a yoga therapist, that I'm going to wrap people in blankets, I'm going to play a gong and I'm going to make some sounds, that I'm going to burn some incense, I'm going to do some chanting, and I'm going to, right? I'm going to, maybe yoga teachers do this with people's bodies. They modify them, they pull them with belts. So I'm doing trigger, 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 trigger. Yes. And then the client or the student bursts into tears and you go, oh, that's so good, everything coming out. I was like, no, sorry. It's just that that person has PTSD or complex PTSD, and all the things that we're doing are right. They are triggering those areas where, for that person, emotionally and physically, that trauma is manifested, and the effect is that they burst into tears, or they have a psychosis event. I've seen that in Yoga Nidra. Yes, in a group, I was attending it, and somebody had a psychotic event. And all of things coming out. Yes. And right. And we say, oh, this is so good that it comes out. No, it comes out.
On top of it, the spiritual bypassing. Yeah.
On top of the spiritual bypassing. Exactly. Absolutely. So, and not only that, if all of this comes out, and who is there to hold on to that? A 200 yoga teacher. So this trauma comes up to the surface, this anger, these tears, all of these things, and you are not qualified to hold that, to deal with that. So one of our wonderful teachers in the school, Esther van der Sander, she's a psychotherapist with a lot of experiences. She's trauma sensitive Netherlands. She's one of the first trauma sensitive yoga teachers in the world, very experienced. And she said to me, I'm not even qualified to deal with some of these traumas that come out. And the yoga teacher comes here and says, I am.
Definitely not.
Yes.
Definitely not.
I can do it. I can do it. You know, we just do a cacao ceremony, lots of hugs, lots of tears, you know.
Some Palo Santo, yeah.
And I can handle this. No, we cannot. Even the most qualified people and professionals, they refer to each other to specific modalities of mental health care. And they don't want to provoke all of these things coming up to the surface, because you don't know how they're going to come out. So how is it that being trauma informed and trauma sensitive, why is it important for our work? It's important because we become aware, as you said the word aware, that somebody may have had traumatic events, and most important, the post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah. We are going to assume that all of us have gone through trauma of some way to another, whether they want to say it or not say it, or share it or not share it. And there are some ways that we need to work with that person so that that trauma stays safe with them. And that there are mechanisms why somebody is holding to certain behaviors, because they are behaviors of protection. So as a yoga teacher or yoga therapist, I need to understand a simple awareness that you have this trauma, that this is how trauma is manifesting, maybe with flashbacks, maybe with images that come to your mind, maybe with shaking, tremoring. As we said, you don't want to be touched, you don't want to be dark, you don't want to be bounded in with belts. And I'm going to respect that. So I don't put the yoga as a priority, I put the person again as a priority. And that person has trauma. That person has been traumatized for certain events, and that trauma is manifesting in certain ways. And we are going to respect that person. And we're not going to cause any triggers. We're not going to make it worse. Because, Liz, sometimes the yoga treatments, yoga classes, when they are done and practice on people who have these traumatic events and these trauma experiences, we can re-traumatize them. It can be another trauma for them. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard this and saying, I freaked out. I don't want to go back to yoga. I don't want to do, because we all hear the people that, oh, I love yoga, but we don't hear the people that say, I'm never going back to yoga again. Yes. Or I was abused.
Or to that teacher again.
I don't want to go back to that teacher. I was abused. And when we talk about abuse, I'm not talking about the terrible things that have happened, yes, and the injustices that have happened, but actually I'm talking about a teacher talking to you in a very authoritative way, telling you that you need to be better, that you're not flexible enough, that you're not working hard enough, you're not good enough. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's why we need to be aware. We cannot just go, oh, I'm just like, so I'm just a yoga teacher and I just work with, I'm just really nice to everybody, right? That's really not enough. We need to know that trauma is part of the human condition, right? And that therefore, and we need to understand what are the triggers of that person for that person to make sure that we don't repeat the trauma in our classes. Yes. So basically that's it. It's not that we treat trauma. Liz, this is very important. Yeah. Being trauma informed or trauma sensitive doesn't mean that we treat trauma. This is where people are getting so confused. It's just that we are aware of trauma and we're going to work with that person, making sure that we don't re-traumatize them and that they can feel safe in the session. Safety, that you feel safe. You can come with your trauma here because you're going to be safe. But we're not treating trauma. That's way beyond our scope of practice, treating trauma. Yeah. So that's important.
Exactly. Yeah. Different from being trauma trained. And even trauma trained has many facets. As you said, not everyone is qualified to
no.
deal with all the topics.
First of all, you have to be a psychologist. You have to be a professional psychologist, and then in psychologist, you're going to have to be a clinical psychologist. A clinical psychologist, then they'll specialize in different areas of trauma. And then if you want to be a yoga teacher on top of that, then great. But we don't treat trauma. Trauma-informed and trauma-sensitive training doesn't train you to treat trauma. It trains you to create a safe space for people who have trauma and affected by traumatic events. Yeah.
So as a yoga therapist, how do you support those clients of yours who are navigating their emotions, or they are carrying trauma, or even when something comes up in a session and then you have to hold them in that situation?
Yes,
what can you do as a yoga therapist?
As a yoga therapist, well, obviously it can happen. Definitely, there can be some tears. I can give you an example. So I had a client who had lost her father recently, and the loss of her father was a very big event for her. And when I did the intake, she mentioned it, and I work very gentle, so very slow movements, very slow, right? Especially with someone like, she seemed like a little bit frozen, holding the breath and holding. It was as if she was holding herself in fear. So at some point we were just lying down, and I had a little blanket, flat blanket folded just under her rib cage at the back, the thoracic spine, and she was just with a very gentle opening, very gentle opening. So really gentle, and then tears starting to come down. Yeah. So very important that when you learn about professional therapy, you realize that one of the rules in therapy, professional therapies, is that when a client bursts into tears, you stop in that moment. You stop the treatment, okay? You give them some tissues. You don't continue with the treatment, okay? And that comes for a talking therapy, if you are a psychologist or a psychiatrist, or yes, in that moment, you don't keep on asking them the question. You don't keep on doing that. You take a pause, and then you give them the tissues and ask them, are they okay? And then if they want to say something, take a few breaths, maybe a glass of water, and then would you like to continue? Should we continue? Yes, this has to be very permissive. It's not like, oh, you burst into tears when we're doing this back bend. Let's keep on doing that back bend. Yeah, no, we stop. We take a moment. So then I said to her, okay, right, yeah, take a moment. Do you want to come out? Yeah, roll onto the side. And sure enough, roll onto the side, come up sitting down, take a moment. Yes, the tissues, the water. And then you say, what happened there? Do you want to tell me what happened? And then, she shared her experience and said, I don't know what happened. I just felt overwhelmed by emotions. They don't need to know why. It just happened. Yes. So, and then, okay, do you feel okay to continue? And of course, I don't put her back into that backbend because that backbend is, cause the overwhelming emotions. Yes. So I said, do you want to continue? So when I saw her so affected by emotions, what I did, I started to do a restorative. So really fully supported with blankets. So I did a gentle yoga nidra. She fell asleep and then get up and wake up. So this is how we try and train people, and Esteban de Sanda with her training does the same. What we don't do is that person is on a back bend, they burst into tears, and then I say, so what is going on? What is it that you see? What is it that you need? What, or, is it because of your father? Is it because, just don't do that. It is really a rule in therapy. If somebody bursts into tears or they're overwhelmed by emotions, stop, pause. Yeah. Take a moment. Don't ask any more questions. Don't keep them in that practice, in that posture. Yes, this is something that maybe perhaps was too intense for them. When we move and we start to breathe after being frozen in fear, of course we may burst into tears. Yes. But the practice is done it. Trust the process of the practice. Take a moment, rest, put them up in a sitting position if they can. Give them some water. Allow them to cry. Don't hug them, by the way. Don't hug them. No, 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 because it can be confusing for them. It can be confusing that we've done a practice that caused them to burst into tears and I'm hugging them. Yes. So yeah, that touch. At the end of the class, yeah, when they leave, they go, you can got a big hug, but don't hug them when they're crying. You let them, express themselves, and come out of the practice and just allow it to settle down. And then after that, give them a practice. Ask them if they wish to continue. Do you want to continue? Are you okay to continue? We will be gentle. Yeah. You need their permission then. Okay. Because they just burst into tears. They're in a vulnerable situation. They're in a vulnerable state. So then you need their permission. They need to, decide if they want to go on or not. So, but of course, this is something you learn in your training, but you introduce it there. And the idea is to offer that safe space, that safe practices, such as, for example, I never bind people with belts. No, I don't use belts to bind people or to hold them. Don't tell people that they have to go through the pain, they have to stay there. Yeah. And there's many forms where you respect that. And let me share with you, Liz, we have this misunderstanding as yoga teachers that we think that if we put them through suffering and pain and they have to hold on there to the pose and they have to breathe into it and that then stuff will come out. Well, actually, it's my experience that the regulation of the nervous system happens when my clients feel safe. When they feel, right, we move in a way where there's no pain. We breathe in a way that is accessible to your lungs and to the way that you breathe, giving permission, offering a quiet moment if they need to, or if they want to talk, we talk. Yes, a lot of yoga teachers think, oh, silence, not necessarily. Yeah, maybe your client is talking, they feel safer when they're talking. Yeah. So how do you feel safe? And if I offer you that safety, where I'm not going to force you into anything, I'm not going to demand anything of you, we're going to move and breathe and rest in a way that, is sustainable for you, that is when the nervous system is regulated. I don't necessarily want things to come up. A little bit might come up, but it comes out in a safe way, in a controlled way. Yes. So that they can handle it, and I can handle it as a therapist too.
Exactly.
So I find that giving that safety is really what works best. Not pushing and saying, chant and do this and go through it, go through the pain, suffer it. And yes. Safety is what Yeah. And safety is different for you than for me, Liz. Yeah. So I did this test with my students once. So I had, okay, so that I had them in class and I said, I don't know if you were there when I asked, does lying on the belly feel safe for you? Do you feel safe when you're lying on the belly? And 50% of the class did not feel safe lying on the belly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No way to orient. Yeah, it's just different.
So,
Yeah.
so what is safe for one person is very different. That's why I need to get to know you. I need to get to know that person. I need to know
Mm.
what is it that doesn't make you feel safe. Yeah. So that we can work with you feeling safe.
Yeah, that was a great example.
Yeah.
That actually guides us to our next question about the nervous system that you already mentioned, the importance of the nervous system and the understanding of it as a yoga therapist.
Mm,
Um, would you mind sharing a little bit about this, or the importance of understanding the nervous system, and maybe
absolutely.
even some tools how to support regulation in therapy, yoga
How to
therapy?
support regulation. Yes, very important because, again, another misunderstanding that we have. We think that regulating the nervous system is calming down the nervous system. That's not true. A regulated nervous system is a nervous system that can handle the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of life. That is a healthy, regulated nervous system. Being
Mm.
calm all the time in an over parasympathetic state, that is not healthy. Um, we need a nervous system that if we need to fight or flight, that we can do it.
Response. Yeah,
Of
yeah.
course, we can respond. That we can relax when it's a relaxing moment, and we can activate when it's an activating moment. Right. I always give the example to the students. I say, if I'm in a parasympathetic state all the time, when I'm teaching, I will be probably the most boring teacher in the world. Yeah. So I will be like, hi, everybody. We've all had teachers like that, yeah, haven't we, at school or, right? The ones that are like, right, do this. Well, do you have any questions? No? Okay. Yes. All right. So it would be awful. So a regulated nervous system means that if you're teaching, you have to be active, you're active. When you have to calm down, when it comes, I always say, when people say, how do I know that my nervous system is okay? How do I know that I'm eating the right food, that I'm doing the right diet? How do I know if the yoga practice that I'm doing is right for me? I said, okay, you know when you wake up in the mornings and you wake up refreshed, when you have energy during the energetic hours in the morning, you have energy to do your work and to do what you need to do. Yes. You're hungry to eat at the times when you eat, and you have healthy appetite. Yeah, not too much, not too little. Yeah. Um, when you eat the food you feel is nourished you and giving you that energy that you needed, and with the times of the body, when you come to the resting time, I always say that the biorhythms, like around 3, 4, 5 o'clock, they go down. So then you feel a little bit more tired, and then you pick up again and you continue that. You're able to put the kids to bed, you're able to finish, right, those calls. You need to be able to do a physical practice. You need to be able to go for a walk, have energy to prepare the food. And when it gets to the end of the day, you're tired and you go to bed and you fall asleep. So if, however, you wake up in the morning too early, 4 in the morning, nervous and anxious, you can't go back to sleep, or you sleep until 12 noon, or come 10 a.m., you're already tired, you could go back to bed. When you don't have energy to go grocery shopping, you don't have energy to cook and feed yourself and feed those who you are responsible for. When you don't want to go to work and you have to drink 5, 6 cups of coffee in order to be able to sustain your energy. When you're angry, frustrated, you're losing your temper, when it goes at night and you stay up watching a TV series on Netflix until 2 a.m. in the morning, Or you fall asleep at 6 o'clock in the evening because you're so exhausted. Yes. Your nervous system is not regulated. Your yoga, your exercise practice is not supporting you. The food that you're eating is not supporting you. The lifestyle that you have, the environment, even your relationships are not supporting you. How do we know that a plant, how do we know that a plant is in the right environment and we're giving it the right light and the right water? How do we know? Because the plant is green, luscious, they're thriving. Yeah. You see a plant that is like, yeah, you now get apps when you can actually look at the plant with the app. Yeah, and the app tells you.
Yeah, they have that now. Crazy.
Yes. Yeah. They tells you exactly what is lacking. I wish we could do the same. Well, actually, this is what we do in yoga therapy. I am an app and I'm looking at somebody and I go, okay, here's the information you're giving me. This is what's lacking. This is what we need to do. So it's the process of giving the right water, the right light. And to me, a dysregulated nervous system is when I hear the stories. That's why I sometimes ask, describe a day to me, a day of your life. And sometimes a working day or a weekend day. And when we look at the sleep, the digestion, when we look at, elimination, if you're not going to the bathroom every day, every 2 days, if your skin is dry, you're dehydrated, right? So that's the nervous system. Yeah. So that's the one thing I'm looking for. And are we looking, as we said, for a nervous system that is calm all the time? Absolutely no way. You need to be active in certain times of the day. You need to be able to handle work, studies, right? Activity, okay, and so on. So how do we work in yoga therapy with that? First of all, by finding out from the person exactly what we're talking about, which is, how is your day? Do you wake up tired? Do you wake up full of energy? Do you have energy to go to work? Do you like your work? Blah, 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 blah. And then that's going to give me an idea. So some people, it's very hard to say tools, that's it. But I do want to bring something that I thought about, that I thought, okay, I really want to share something here with you, Liz. The best tool for regulating the nervous system is not breath work.
Yeah, that was clear for me very early in my breathwork experience.
It is not breath work. Okay. The most regulating, let's say, tool in life is movement. And movement doesn't mean movement like, workout. No. For someone who is in a really deep dysregulated state, it could be just moving the fingers and tapping the fingers. Yeah. It could be this. It could be hands on the heart center and just this. It could be going for a little walk up and down the mat, and that's it. It could be just lying down and doing some turning of the joints. Yeah, very slow turning of the joints. A little sitting cat and cow, like rocking. A little bit like this, yeah? Rocking. It could be just that. It's not breath work. When a lot of people say, oh, regulate the nervous system, breathing practices, straight breath. It is not. Because when we are dysregulated, to ask somebody to do breathing is calm down the breath. Do you experience the same, Liz, in yourself? That or in any other experiences that you say, okay, going straight to the breath when you're not feeling well?
Yeah, it often frustrates me because the breath wouldn't slow down, of course. So it can be a frustrating experience.
Yeah, the breath doesn't slow down and you feel that you should slow it down. Yes. And don't forget also now, Liz, that we have been trained in breath work, but the majority of people out there, they have not. Nobody, in fact, we're a minority. Yes. So to ask somebody who's dysregulated, having a panic attack or, or feeling fainty or agitated, to say, oh, just calm down the breath. It's like saying to somebody, relax. It's like, yeah, just like that. Of course not. No, I find that if you want to really work on regulating the nervous system, the first thing to start with, the starting point is A, that you are in a safe environment, that you're with someone that you feel safe, in a place that you feel safe, right? But if you happen to be in a space where you're not feeling safe, yes, Then begin with movement, very small movements, even just movements of the toes. Sometimes I teach this to some clients who are doing, they have to go for chemotherapy and they have to sit there doing the chemotherapy. And I said, you're allowed to move your toes. Move your toes, flex your feet, point the feet. Yeah, begin with the movement. Movement activates the circulatory system, activates the lymphatic system, and then you're going to be able to then eventually do your breath work. But begin with movement. Yeah, that I think is my first tool.
That's a great advice. I think everyone will be so happy to take this away from this conversation.
Yeah, yes,
Because everyone would think, yeah, deep breath.
the breath.
Not
No, no,
breath.
no, no, no. The breath. When you think about the 8 limbs of yoga, is asana
Mhm.
before pranayama.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Lovely. Thank you so much. That is an amazing share. So let me ask you a little bit about the Yoga Therapy Institute itself, where I also started my studies, and that was one of the best decisions of my life. But let's share with the listeners and who's watching the video, what makes the Yoga Therapy Institute's approach so unique to yoga therapy?
Well, I think the number one is that what we teach comes from experience, clinical experience, not only from the yoga, right, dogma, the learning, the education, is the tools of yoga adapted to today, to today's needs. I think that is actually that we really make a big difference. And particularly because we have a lot of experience, myself, the other teachers as well, working with human beings. I've worked with hundreds of people. Yes, one-on-one with everything from Parkinson's, heart disease, back problems, deep depression, anxiety, panic attacks, autoimmune disease, everything. And this is where my learning comes from. Yes, my learning comes from them. And I think that is the biggest difference with our school, that is really based on practice. And of course, yes, you learn everything about, where these tools from yoga come from and how we can apply them. But really what I'm very proud of is that, and I shared it recently, I said, is yoga tool applied to the needs, your health needs that you have now, not the health needs that human beings had thousands of years ago in India. Okay, sorry, big difference. Yes, if we're working with Mary from Ohio who's obese and she has diabetes type 2, I cannot apply possibly the same tools that they were like there thousands of years ago for Indian bodies. I'm sorry, but I have a scientific mind, and I think, where does that make sense?
Mm.
Right? That with Mary from Ohio, yeah, I'm going to use tools to help her that were applied mainly for young Indian men. Not thousands, but hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Yeah.
Exactly.
Does this
Would
make
not make
sense?
sense.
No. And that is what the big difference is. I feel that we're very, very clear about this. And because we've experienced it, it comes from clinical experience. So I think that is the main difference. The other one is we don't have to take it very seriously. We do use a lot of sense of humor, a lot of warmth, a lot of friendliness, a lot of saying,
Definitely.
listen, we are humans. You are not Shiva and Shakti, and you are a human being living in today's world, having to get up in the morning to go to work, unhappy with your body, having to be this perfect human being who eats well, does well, and you're having to drive to places and you're having to, you're frustrated and the world is collapsing. These are the problems of today. And we take it with a pinch of salt and we take it with a lot of love. Yes. And also laughter and to really welcome the human experience. I think that's also one of the main differences with us, to make it very human, very human. And some people are happy to saying, oh my God, I feel free to make a mistake. Yes, you can make a mistake, 100%. Yes, and we're here to learn, not to learn from some very strict dogma. We're here to learn about, yeah, you're here to learn about yourself and how you can help other human beings in a safe way. So that we're very clear about, Liz. Yes, 100%. Yeah, so a real approach rather than looking back. It's like, yeah, we can look
Yeah.
back to inform ourselves from today. Um, because, yes, today's world is terrible, but at least I remind my students, yeah, most of them are females. I say, if we go back to the way things were thousands of years ago, here, this female classroom, we would all be slaves
With no voice, with no rights. Yes.
with no rights, right, whatsoever. So why am I looking at the way things were done thousands of years ago by some male guru? No, sorry. So I have to say, yeah, that the school is very forward thinking in that sense. Yes.
Yes, yes, it is, which I also love. And also then all the teachers are very, very approachable. And yeah, if a question wouldn't let me sleep at night, I know that I can just send a message to them. Of course, I'm not
100%.
gonna do that in the middle of the night, but I just have the feeling that I could, and
Yes.
that just makes me feel very safe in that learning
Yeah,
environment.
absolutely. Absolutely. Nobody's going to say anything. Questions only from this time to this time. It's like, no, 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 no. And also another thing, of course, we are the most international school in the world, the most international yoga therapy school. So we have students from over 60 countries now, 60. So without a doubt, we are the most diverse school. Absolutely.
Very diverse classes, indeed.
Very
Yes, then we have
diverse.
the group
Sometimes
works. Yeah, it's
yes, I call
amazing.
them the United Nations of yoga therapy, 100% from everywhere. We have people from Nepal, also students from Bhutan, students from India, students from the US, from Australia, New Zealand, Taiwan, like everywhere, everywhere in Europe. Yes, so we're very,
Yes.
very proud of that. I'm really happy. Create such a rich environment. So that's also something really important, at least, because when you go to a yoga therapy school in the US, it's only US students. When you go to a yoga
Mm.
therapy in the UK, it's only UK students. Here, it's students from all over the world. So that's a big
Which gives you such a broad perspective,
uh-uh.
really. And it's
Yes.
amazing to work together, also seeing all these people from all over the world in the classrooms, and we connect, and then we also seek each other out from outside the group, because I already met a couple of people who we just like clicked during
Yes.
the group works, and
Yeah.
then we stay in touch, which is really amazing to have all these connections, which can also support us professionally later. Yeah,
It does.
so
It does. It
I
does. It
find it
does.
amazing.
It does. One of
Yeah.
the things that we have is when you graduate, we also have these regular meetings and the students form their own groups and it's
Mm.
spectacular. It's wonderful.
The
Yes.
community aspect of it, it's also
Yes,
great.
which is
Yes,
quite rare to do it
definitely.
online, Liz,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's happening. Yes.
I have just a random question coming up in my mind, because on social media I see so many people calling themselves yoga therapists,
Yeah.
and they are not certified by an educational body like the Yoga Therapy Institute. So how is it possible that they call themselves yoga therapists, and
Yeah.
what can we do about it? Maybe here in this little chat to raise awareness of the importance of the proper depth in education. That a 100-hour 1 week course is not going to make you into a yoga therapist.
No, absolutely. It's a little bit like, calling yourself a doctor when you're a dental hygienist. Okay, so when you're, sorry, a dentist, when you're a dental hygienist, yeah? Okay, yes, it's
Mm.
not the same as being a dentist. So yeah, unfortunately, that is always going to happen. It happens with yoga teachers. It's always happened. People call themselves yoga teachers without being trained as a yoga teacher. And the only thing that we do is official schools and accredited schools and the IYT, we keep on repeating the message of saying you need your certification from an accredited program so that there is, and it doesn't have to be the IYT, it could be an accredited program in France. In France, I know that there is an accredited program of yoga therapy. In Japan also, Japan has an accredited program of yoga therapy, accredited by the Japanese regulatory body that does this. So it doesn't have to be the IYT, but certainly to really start to talk about it, like you said, share it all the time, question. And when somebody comes to me and says, "I'm a yoga therapist and I would like to learn more in your courses," I say, "Who are you certified with?"
Mm.
And when they mention, I go, "Okay, yeah, well, I did my 500-hour, and they knew a lot about yoga therapy." And I said, "Yeah, okay, it's different. Just because your yoga teacher training had yoga therapy in it, it doesn't mean that you're trained to be a yoga therapist." And if you don't believe me, try to work with some of the clients I've worked with or that our students are working with. Yeah, somebody
Oh,
with
please don't. It's not safe.
right? Someone with rheumatoid arthritis, somebody with,
Mm.
cardiovascular disease, with, all kinds of serious issues, a herniated disc. Then you will know that you haven't qualified as a yoga therapist. Yeah. So that is the danger that people call themselves a yoga therapist, and then they'll be just working with people with health issues. Yeah. So how can we stop it? We can't stop it, except to
Mhm.
bring awareness, right? How can we stop the abuse of the system in any system? Bring people, to the awareness, so we can all, yeah, yeah, participate in the regulation of this profession. Yes.
So who your trainings are designed for?
Who are they designed for? Yoga teachers, of course, absolutely, and uh, a lot of people think that, oh, I have to have tons of experience. Let me tell you something. Some of the best yoga therapists that we have developed in, like they've graduated with us, are actually were yoga teachers who didn't have a lot of fixed ideas about yoga.
Mhm.
And what I find is sometimes some of these yoga teachers who have been yoga teachers for decades and they're like really into the yoga teaching thing and they know everything, I find them less open-minded, as a matter of fact.
Mhm.
So when you are new and you go, I'm just become a yoga teacher and I'm open to this and I want to work in a different way. I don't want to just be a yoga teacher for groups. They're open-minded. That is. So an open mind is, I think, is an essential element. If you come to become a yoga therapist already thinking that you know everything, really, I've seen it. Oh, but I know everything. We get applications from people saying, "I am a yoga teacher. I've done this, and I know this, and I'm already this, and I'm already that, and I already know about everything." Are there anything in the course that maybe I don't need to do the full training because I know so much? Then I say, in fact, you don't need to do this training because this is not for you. This is not for you. You know everything. When you come to learn yoga therapy, it's because you feel that you don't know enough.
Mhm.
You feel you're hungry for knowledge. You think, uh, you start questioning. But if you come saying,
Yeah,
"I know everything," right?
good for you.
Yes, exactly. I already know. I want to join the courses, but I already know everything. It's like, okay, wonderful. Yes, then this is not for you. Because this is for people who feel that you don't know enough. You want to
Mhm.
learn to help more, to help safely, to, right?
Mhm.
So that is what it's designed for. It's designed for yoga teachers who are hungry for knowledge, who are hungry for wanting more, for understanding that maybe what they're doing is not enough. And of course, medical professionals as well. We have a lot of medical professionals in our courses.
Mhm.
Um, and but not just the medical professionals who are interested in yoga, who are yoga practitioners themselves, obviously. Yes. And also mental health providers. We have a lot of people who are psychologists, who are psychotherapists, and again, they feel that the mind, that there's something missing. There's like a, right? They say,
Mhm.
"Yes, I do talking therapy with my patients, but I feel I'm missing something," and that is the body-mind connection. And then they look into yoga and look at yoga therapy. So yes, so those three in general, yes. Yoga teachers were open-minded, please, ready to learn, wanting to learn more, to think in a different way, yes. Um, and medical professionals, physical and mental health professionals, but of course also who are interested in yoga and they think that yoga could be a useful tool for them. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So it's not just the
But
qualification, it's the mind, the type of person that you are. Yeah.
yeah, but I can already sense it in the groups I have encountered in the different modules that this course also attracts a certain kind of people who just gather here and yeah,
Yeah.
I don't mean it in an exclusive way, but just like people who are driven, the as you said, the wounded healers, the people who want to support others and want to understand more, and
They want to
as you said,
understand more, to say
start
yes.
to question things.
Yeah, how to
Yeah, so you
question.
can.
Yeah, critical thinking is very important. We teach you to do critical thinking. Yes, not that just
Yes,
do this because I say so. No, do this because here's the evidence, this is what, and then see if it's
if
accessible
it
to you,
works.
if it resonates with you, then do it. But
Mm,
don't do it just because I say so. Yeah, so critical thinking,
yes.
very important.
Mm.
To say, why should
Then
I?
I can really sense it in the classrooms. I really can sense it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful.
One last question. For someone who's feeling called to this work, to this path, what would be the one piece of advice you would offer?
Yes, the main piece of you, first of all, you feel called to yoga therapy, but do you know what yoga therapy is? Okay. So the first thing is to really find out what is yoga therapy. A lot of people are confused uh, that they think that in yoga therapy they're going to get, oh, I get the poses that I need to do for someone with shoulder injuries. I get what practice I get that a lot of times. This question. What should I do with somebody? What practices should I do with somebody who has autoimmune disease? I go, okay, that is not what yoga therapy is about. Yoga therapy is not that I'm gonna say, oh, here is Hashimoto's, which is a type of autoimmune disease, and here are the exercises you're going to do for somebody with autoimmune disease, Hashimoto's. No, that's not what it is. You're going to learn how to think like a yoga therapist. That's different. Okay. You're going to learn what questions you need to ask. What do you need to find out about that person? What are the different tools that you can use? And then you, as a yoga therapist, it's a little bit like the Mary Poppins bag. You're going to pull out of the bags the ones that you need for that person. You're going to learn how to adapt those tools to that person. Yeah. So it's, yeah. Number two, so that is what yoga therapy is. And it's not just by learning, oh, here, that you're going to do A, B, C, D, and here's a book where you're going to look and see, oh, this is what I do with someone with, I don't know, thyroid problems or somebody with, asthma. I do this. No. Okay. You're going to learn the different tools, the protocols, the techniques, how to support people with asthma, but how to adapt them to that particular person. Because let's not forget that one person doesn't only have asthma. You get asthma, low back pain, flat feet, and headaches, right? And on top
Like
of that, you're unhappy in your marriage. And on top of that, right? Okay,
burn out in your job.
exactly. So you learn about how to work with the whole person. So that's number one.
Mm.
Number two, you need training. You're interested in yoga therapy, but you think, oh, I can just do a short little course. No. So recently, I was having a meeting with students who are halfway through their training. And they were, of course, saying, oh, it's such hard work. Oh my God. You know, this is, we had one doctor and said, this is similar to my medical studies. She was saying, like in terms of like intensity and da. And I let them speak. I was like, okay. Let me tell you something. If you want to become a yoga therapist, You need to work for it. It's like everything in life. You need to study, you need to learn, you need to do your practices. And I'm very happy to hear that this is, that you're struggling halfway, because this is normal. And that's why we have this meeting. But if you want to become a yoga therapist, I'm really sorry, but it's like, oh, I really want to be a doctor. I really want to be an architect. I want to be an engineer, but I don't want to have to do the work. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. If you want to buy a house, right? You got to work and save money to buy the house. Yes. If you want to run a marathon, you're going to have to train for months before to run that marathon. Yes. You can't just say, oh, I'm just going to run a marathon. Yeah. I got the t-shirt with a number. Yeah. It's like, no, you got to run that marathon. You got to train. So this is a little bit the same, Liz. I wish I could say, oh, become a yoga therapist. Bam, bam, bam. This is going to be an easy journey, couple of months. It is not. Yeah, it's proper training, proper education. And that's something that I reminded the group. By the end of this meeting, they were all happy, saying, oh, yes, 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 we're going for it. We're doing it. Because they forgot that you have to work, you have to study, you have to do your writing, you have to do your work with your clients, right? Okay. So that is absolutely, definitely. And then once you are clear, what is yoga therapy? And that you're going to have to study, then start inquiring and asking different schools. Contact the different schools that could resonate with you. You can find them all through the IYT website. That's where I would go. The IYT website has the accredited programs in the world. And some of them offer it fully online. We offer it fully online, but maybe you want it hybrid, maybe you want it half in person in the locality where you live. Look for it. Yes. And ask them questions. I always say, we have a forum where you say, do you have any questions for us? You can organize an interview with me and I can answer all the questions. In the other programs, the same. And find out, do a little research, look for 3, 4 schools that resonate with you. Yeah. And then make the decision to maybe adapt it to, okay, now I can do it, or now I've got 2 years to do it. Plan it ahead a little bit. Yes, plan it ahead. How busy are you in the next 2 or 3 years? Look for flexible programs if you need to. Yes, some of us, you can interrupt the training, or you can do it different modules at different times. But definitely, first of all, plant the seed that it is hard work. It's dedicated, it's straight. Listen, I would love to be able to say, as you know, this, to say, hey, oh, in no time and there's barely any work involved. There's work. If you're interested in yoga therapy, you can do short courses. We have short courses of yoga therapy, which give you extra information about issues such as the menopause, chronic pain, and so on. Yeah, and they're very accessible financially and time-wise. They're 6 hours.
They are. They are
They're
amazing.
39, and we dive deeply into a topic, and they're fun as well. So I don't see the problem with that. It's extra education, yeah, extra knowledge. But for sure, if this is a call for you, look for accredited programs and do your search, ask questions to the program directors. What is the best thing for you? And realize that there's going to be a commitment of time, yes, and of course a financial commitment, without a doubt, although we're trying to lower the impact of that as much as possible. But there will be a commitment of time. There's got to be somewhere in your life when you do this. Yeah, that's just like any education, Liz.
Yes,
So
I agree.
yeah,
I
yeah,
agree.
absolutely. So I think that's really my biggest advice that I can give for that. Yeah, and somewhere, Liz, where you feel this is for me, this place is for me. Yeah, that feels right for you.
Yes.
So yeah, that something tells you that you go, this is the right place for me. I think that this is important. Yeah. Mhm.
Yes, I definitely had that feeling. I didn't really check the other schools. I was just like, what? I want this.
I was the same, I have to say. When I found the yoga biomedical trust, I was like, what? This is for me. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're unsure, there's nothing wrong with looking
Mm.
around and going to the IYT accredited list and see what could be for you. Yeah. Definitely, definitely. And open mind is very important. This desire to learn new things, learn a different way. I think that that's so valuable because we need to evolve, Liz. And this is something very important. Maybe, don't know, I'm happy to share this as a last. One thing I would love people to take away from this is that um, the evolution of yoga is very important because everything evolves. Everything. There's nothing on this earth that doesn't evolve, from the oceans to the skies, the universe, everything, right? And change is inevitable. And so to allow yoga to evolve, to make it more inclusive, more permissive, accessible to everybody, not to say, well, it's an ancient practice only exclusive to certain people in certain countries or a certain color of skin. That's just, yeah, that just goes against nature. And, um,
Mm.
and yoga therapy is part of that evolution. Yoga therapy is part of, yeah, a form of yoga that is adapted to today's individual with today's problems, the health issues, mental and physically. And the aim to support people of today. And that is something that is very important in a safe and respectful way. So that is really what yoga therapy is the natural evolution of yoga, I believe. So
Oh, which is really a lovely
yeah,
closing uh, thought.
yes, yeah, yeah, definitely,
Well,
definitely.
Mons, thank you so, so much for sharing your time, your wisdom, your heart with us today. I know these insights will resonate deeply with many who will be watching and listening. And I feel also personally so grateful that we could have this conversation and this time together. I've been missing you already. I haven't done a module for a couple of months now.
Yeah,
Your work really touches many, many lives, mine included. And I'm sure that our listeners or viewers will also leave with not only new knowledge, but also a sense of inspiration, a possibility how yoga can be a path to healing. And for those who are tuning in, if you would like to learn more about Mons, about the Yoga Therapy Institute, I will make sure to link all the resources in the description. And you can also explore their amazing programs and content. So thank you so much for joining in. And until next time, take good care, stay present, and keep nurturing yourselves and your practice. Thank you
thank,
so much, Mons. It was so lovely. Thank you. Thank you.
thank you, thank you, thank you,
And
thank you
see you
so much.
soon in the next module.
Yes, 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 yes. See you there.